Very good evening to everyone who has joined today for this tribute assembly of a leader and a visionary, Shri Mukesh Bhai C. Gandhi. I welcome you all to this first tribute assembly on behalf of Shri Mukesh Gandhi Memorial Committee. My name is Lipi Goyal, and I will be taking you through this evening of paying tribute to a highly successful yet humble business personality. His principles and his thoughts were universal. He believed in doing business in an ethical way and ensured the same culture will be defined in MAS Financial Services as a company. He was a person full of positivity, enthusiasm, and kindness. He set many revolutionary precedents during the course of his entrepreneurial journey. He also believed in sharing his knowledge and was a popular public speaker on various issues related to finance. But above all, he was a good human being. It is said in Sanskrit that as tree grows on fruits, they bend towards the ground. Similarly, the more successful he became more and more humble. That said, well, I am definitely not the right person to share more about Mukesh Bhai's journeys and times. The right person is the one who is an impression of him today. May I now request Ms. Pratna Gandhi, Mukesh Bhai's daughter and partner of Amaya Capital, to please share a few words with us.
Good evening, everyone. Namaskar. Thank you, Libby. Respected all. At the outset, I would like to thank you all of you for attending the first memorial lecture of my respected and beloved father, Sri Mukesh Gandhi. This is indeed an emotional moment for me, but at the same time, a moment of pride when I see such an enormous respect being shown to him, reflecting of the famous saying that it does not matter how a man dies, but how he lives. He has been a great, rather the only influence on my life. I have tried to learn from him his outstanding qualities of patience and perseverance and spreading love. I'm not sure as to what extent I can emulate him, but will ever strive to imbibe those qualities throughout my life. The most striking quality which I will cherish is that he gave me all the encouragement to pursue and follow what I wanted to. I might have succeeded in few and learned the lessons in many of my endeavors. His support and teaching me the right values and being always there for me, irrespective of the outcome of my endeavors, not only made me comfortable, but also confident. This really is a rare trait when I look around today. I feel that I am blessed to have someone like him in my life as a father. While no one is immortal, but as it's said that the parents lives forever in their children, and same is true with me also. He lives in all the ones he loved, and we will all strive to be worthy of his love and affection by being the person that he always cherished us to be. I invite all the dignitaries to light the lamp and inaugurate this first memorial lecture. Thank you.
As per Hindu traditions, we will now be lighting the lamp to guide the soul, remember, sir, and signify that his memory still lives on and burns bright.
जिनेन्द्रं तव दर्शनात् जिनेन्द्रं तव दर्शनात् जिन धर्मो अन्यथा शरणं नास्ति त्वमेव शरणं मम तस्मात् कारुण्यभावेन रक्ष रक्ष जिनेश्वरम् रक्ष रक्ष जिनेश्वरम् मङ्गलं भगवान् वीरो मङ्गलं गौतम प्रभु मङ्गलं स्थूलभद्राध्या जैनधर्मोऽस्तु मङ्गलम् जैनधर्मोऽस्तु मङ्गलम्
His memories live long in our heart, and may his soul rest in peace. Well, with that, we have been talking about the gentleman so much, so why not understand his journey more in detail through an AV? Can we please have the AV? Not by brick and mortar, but by their aspirations, values, and culture. And such institutions become truly great and outlive their founders many times. Well, this observation is very apt in case of Sri Mukesh C. Gandhi and Services Limited. Born in 1957 into a middle-class Gujarati family with humble background in the city of Ahmedabad, Sri Mukesh Gandhi had to face the harsh realities of life with the untimely demise of his father. He started his career as a lecturer at Nav Gujarat College in early 1980s. He began his entrepreneurial career in 1988 along with his younger brother, Sri Kamlesh C. Gandhi. In less than a decade of successful operations with an ever-expanding client base, in 1995, the firm was corporatized into MAS Financial Services Limited to capitalize on the emerging growth potential of the market. Right from the beginning, Sri Mukesh Gandhi anchored the responsibility of the finance function of the enterprise. Mid-1990s was undoubtedly the toughest time for NBFCs in mobilizing funds for their operations. Indian economy was going through the transition into a liberalized era, and NBFCs lacking recognition. Sri Mukesh Gandhi, with his charismatic simplicity, integrity, resilience, and patience, had created a strong and endearing brand for the company among customers, lenders, and investors. His style of functioning symbolized patience, assertiveness, wherever necessary, uncanny ability to convince all the concerned, and an overall capability to take every stakeholder into confidence. He has played an important role in laying the strong base for the consistent financial performance, which was also reflected during the all past turbulent period. We can see in pictures his beautiful journey over here. Another significant contribution of Sri Mukesh Gandhi was in mobilizing capital from FMO, Development Bank of Netherlands, DEG, Development Institution of Germany, ICICI Ventures, Serva Capital, and many others, with minimum dilution on conversion. These deals continue to be a benchmark for many NBFCs in the country. Later, he played an important role in the company's IPO initiative, culminating with 127 times oversubscription of the issue in 2017. Well, the company is now poised for a phenomenal growth going further and owes immensely for his contribution. He headed the Gujarat Finance Companies Association as its chairman for more than a decade and was also the founding member and the director of FIDC. His contribution here was also very well acknowledged, and he initiated and became the managing trustee of Urmila Ben Chimanlal Gandhi Foundation, which focused on healthcare and education. The vital source of Mukesh Gandhi's inspiration was his deep-rooted understanding and adherence to the principles of Jainism. We believe this had helped him to evolve the charismatic personality, embodying love, care, and warmth to all those who came in touch with him, and also the society in general. We do believe the sentiment and the values that he has imbibed in our organization would permeate into our extended family, friends, and business associates. Well, Team MAS remains committed to its mission of excellence through endeavors, which we understand is the real tribute and honor to our beloved co-founder, late Shri Mukesh Bhai C. Gandhi. Thank you so much, everyone, once again for being part of us, or being with us today over here. And moving ahead, I would now request Mr. Kamlesh Gandhi, the founder, chairman, and managing director of MAS Financial Services Limited, to please speak about his close personal and professional relations of so many years with Mukesh Bhai.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Mukesh Gandhi Memorial Committee, Team MAS, and the entire family, including my newly born grandson Ayansh, I welcome you to the first Mukesh Gandhi Memorial Lecture. The lecture is on a very apt subject, turning setbacks into comeback, by Mr. Shiv Khera, and he requires no introduction. He is a renowned author, educator, and a speaker. To speak on the industry we belong to, the NBFC, we also have with us Mr. TT Srinivas Raghavan, whom we fondly call TTS, the veteran of the industry, and to put it very aptly and simply, our guru, to speak on the role of NBFCs as catalyst in the economic growth. My special thanks to both of them to have consented to grace this occasion. Companionship with Mukesh Bhai. Honestly, it is beyond words. Many of you whom you know us since some time are aware of the fact that we were one. And just to put it, we being with each other through all thick and thin of life was a matter of reflex and never an endeavor. He was nearly a decade elder to me. So besides being an elder brother, he was always a father, mentor, friend, philosopher, and guide. I would like to put these relationships into some perspective for the understanding. While it's not possible, as I told you, it's beyond words. But just to share with all of you how we worked. I used to share with him any idea that comes to me, and many times even at midnight. And I will find him to be besides me, supporting me, and very positive. While there are many such instances, but I'll share with all of you ones which are the most defining ones. To start with, way back in 1988, when I was 22 years old then, and started my career as an institutional selling agents for consumer durable, I shared with him that if we have the finance options, we can sell more. Ideally, I would have been advised to carry on with what I had and concentrate on the same, for the fact that we were the first generation entrepreneurs with tons of zeal, but no money. Instead, Mukesh Bhai not only supported this idea and encouraged it, but even arranged the first 1 lakh of borrowing from one of his friends to start this journey. And ladies and gentlemen, as I talk to you today, MAS manages more than 6,000 crores in AUM and steadily and consistently growing to reach a formidable scale in coming future. He was the one who gave me the clarity on the concept of Jainism. And I will always remain indebted to him for the clarity he imbibed in me, for the very reason that I personally believe this concept has eternal relevance in all spheres, be it life or be it work. Following to the extent I can, I am in a position to navigate along with my team through all the challenges and do it successfully. On the family front, he was the face and the go-to man. While I was not quite indulgent, but we were always in sync in whatever we do. I am sure that all the family members will miss him very dearly for the very reason that he was very approachable and at the same time very kind. A year has gone by in his absence. And let me share with you that during his treatment and during one of our conversations, he promised me that I will never leave you stranded. And I realized today that this is so true. And this being true only because of the tremendous support of Team MAS, more particularly the core team, and also all the family members who have shown tremendous resilience, strength, and courage to take MAS and family to greater heights. While emotionally this void will ever remain, but we remain dedicated to our mission of excellence through endeavors. As such, I can go on and on, taking into account my 54 years of long relations and long association and companionship with him. But I would not like to consume much of your time, as the main objective of this event is to enrich and motivate ourselves to do all-round good, which I think will be a true tribute to Mukesh Bhai. I thank all of you who have joined in large numbers and to make this event a memorable one. And I will once again would like to reiterate that it will be the endeavor of the committee to have this event done every year. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kamlesh, to you for those words. We could see you holding up your emotions, and I'm sure each and every member is keeping up with their emotions and being strong and following his legacy. Thank you once again for those words. Moving ahead, I would now like to invite our guest of honor, who will be expressing his views on NBFCs as a catalyst in economic growth, as well as his working experience with Mukesh Bhai. Of course, Kamlesh ji has already given us a hint, but I would like to take a moment and introduce him. He has over 40 years of experience in the banking and financial services sector. He's an MBA from Gannon University, Pennsylvania, and has been involved with various committees constituted by the RBI on NBFC-related matters, including the recently constituted group of advisors to Regulations Review Authority. He is an ex-MD of Sundaram Finance Limited and served the company for 38 years and 18 of them as its MD. During his tenure as the MD, the company grew its balance sheet from 800 crores to over 30,000 crores. He is the chairman emeritus FIDC, also a past president of the 187-year-old Madras Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and he was ranked among India's top 100 CEOs for 3 consecutive years from 2013 to 2015 in Business Today PwC rankings. He has been conferred the Baroda Sun Achievement Award for Leadership in 2018. A keen sportsman who's also traveled widely and has an avid interest in photography. And like I said, Sir will be expressing his views on NBFCs as a catalyst in economic growth and his working experience with Mukesh T. Let's welcome TT Srinivasa Raghavan over here with us. Welcome, sir.
Namaskar. Thank you for those kind words of introduction. Kamlesh Bhai, members of Mukesh Bhai's family, Team MAS. I'm here today with you with mixed feelings. Mixed because this was too soon to be holding a memorial for Mukesh Bhai. He was too young to die. And it feels somehow not right that we're doing a memorial tribute to him. But it is what it is. On the other hand, I am deeply honored to be invited to speak at what is the first of, as Kamlesh Bhai said, an annual event to honor the memory of Mukesh. So that is really the two sides of how I feel being with all of you today. Well, I knew Mukesh over a long time. I think a reference was made to his being a founder of FIDC, which I remember very well, the early days of the founding of FIDC, the core team that set it up. And I remember the passion that Mukesh brought to every endeavor that FIDC made in those days, every representation that we made. And in those days, representations were literally one a day. And the passion with which Mukesh worked, as I said, especially espousing the cause of the small NBFCs, is something I will never forget. In his very quiet but very committed and firm way, he always made sure that the voice of the small NBFC was heard. He was always very, very clear in terms of expressing what were the problems and the challenges that the smaller NBFCs faced. And indeed, I think it was his lifelong mission, to further the lives of those, especially at the bottom of the pyramid, and certainly the smaller NBFCs, who were the people who enabled the growth of people at the bottom of the pyramid. So my memories of Mukesh Bhai are many, but the time available is limited. I also have a little something to talk about in terms of the role of NBFCs. So I will sort of stop here, because I could technically use the entire half an hour that I've been given talking about my memories of Mukesh and the times that we spent together. All I will say is that he's left behind an outstanding legacy in terms of the company that he's built, the team that he's built, and of course in Kamlesh, a very, very capable successor to carry forward the legacy, to carry the torch going into the future. So Mukesh Bhai, wherever you are, I know that you're looking down, smiling at your team, smiling at all of us, happy in the knowledge that your legacy is being protected and carried forward. Now I turn to the subject at hand for today, the role of NBFCs as a catalyst in economic growth. In order to talk about the role of NBFCs in economic growth, I think it's also important to talk a little bit about the history of NBFCs. NBFC is actually a fairly recent terminology. I think it was only in the 1990s that this terminology of NBFC came about. But in a very different avatar, we go back almost 90 years. In the 1930s, you had the first of what were then known as hire purchase companies. Right? These were the first organized people, organized entities which came forward to fill the huge gap that existed at the time in terms of small businessmen, small road transport operators, so on and so forth, who wanted to get into business for themselves, but did not have the financial support. They had the passion, they had the energy, they were willing to work hard, but there weren't enough people to trust them with money. This is where the hire purchase companies came in. To my memory, I think the first of the hire purchase companies, at least the most prominent one, was set up in the 1930s in Delhi by Mr. Ved Prakash Gupta, who is considered one of the pioneers, the doyens in the world of hire purchase finance. Ved Prakash ji, literally sort of created opportunities for hundreds of young entrepreneurs, mostly truck drivers in the northern part of India, Delhi, UP, Punjab. And this was still pre-independence, mind you. And that little initiative that he started in the 1930s then soon took on a much bigger dimension. A large number of companies came up in and around Delhi, in Punjab, and to this day, for example, you have a large cluster of finance companies around Jalandhar and Ludhiana. So the legacy, so to speak, of the hire purchase companies continues, though in a different avatar to even today. Then, of course, it spread to the rest of the country. Again, in the southern part of India, especially in Tamil Nadu and in Andhra Pradesh, there was again a very strong push towards setting up hire purchase companies. Sundaram Finance, which is the company that I was very fortunate to work for and lead for nearly 4 decades, was one of the early pioneers in this part of the country. And then, of course, there were very many more over the years who played a role similar to the one that MGF did in northern India. Why I'm giving you this background is NBFC, in recent years has been through a lot of turmoil, both in terms of economic happenings, in terms of regulatory happenings, and just in terms of the competitive landscape. But the road that brought NBFCs thus far was not an easy one either. Because in the early days, in the 50s and 60s, for example, funding was almost impossible to raise for these companies. And it was because of the pioneering efforts of the early, stalwarts like Mr. Ved Prakash Gupta and Mr. T.S. Santanam of Sundaram Finance that laws were rewritten. The Motor Vehicles Act was amended to recognize the rights of hire purchase financiers, then later on for leasing companies. Similarly, the State Bank of India amended its act to permit lending to hire purchase companies for on-lending. So these were all great milestones, in the history of the development of what we today understand as NBFCs. The most important thing, however, to note is this. Today, it's very fashionable for people to talk about financial inclusion, right? Whomever you listen to today, whether it's in the government or whether it's with the regulator, in the media, everyone talks about financial inclusion. It's become a buzzword. But what I would submit respectfully is that it was really the hire purchase companies back in the 30s and 40s who actually invented this concept of financial inclusion. Of course, they didn't know the jargon, right? They didn't put this fancy label of financial inclusion on what they did. But the reality is, it is the hire purchase companies who took finance to the people who were either underbanked or unbanked. People, many of whom who could not even sign their name, right? They used to what we call Anguta Chap. So it was to people like that that these hire purchase companies offered finance based on their knowledge of the local conditions, based on their intimate knowledge of the borrower, the communities which they worked in. And this is how actually financial inclusion began in this country. So I think this is something, unfortunately, many people today may not realize or may not recognize, but this is something that is a crucial part of the growth and development of not only NBFCs in this country, but of the concept of financial inclusion itself. Now, of course, as we moved into the 80s, NBFCs or hire purchase leasing had sort of come of age. Hire purchase and leasing was then beginning to get recognized as a mainstream activity. Regulations started to become a little more organized. And then, of course, in the 1990s, NBFCs became completely mainstream. There was an AC Shah committee which came out with the Shah committee report, I think it was 1992, which for the first time codified a lot of the things pertaining to the NBFC sector. And from there on, I think is what we see today as a more formalized NBFC sector, right? Up until then, it was more hire purchase and leasing companies. It was in the 90s that this transformation happened into what we today understand as NBFCs. The reason I gave you this little history lesson is so that people appreciate and understand the long road that we have traveled as an industry. Right? Many people make the mistake of thinking that NBFCs only came into being in 1998 or thereabouts. That is not the case, right? We are, as I said, almost a 90-year-old industry. No doubt we've gone through several stages, several avatars, and arrived at where we've arrived today. Now, if you look at what is really the big contribution that NBFCs have made. Today, if you look at what the large banks, whether it's public sector or private sector banks do, whether it's the large corporate NBFCs who have come into existence in the last 15, 20, 25 years, many of them, if not most of them, are large players in the field of vehicle financing. And when I say vehicle financing, I start from two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers, small trucks, medium trucks, large trucks, heavy-duty trucks, construction equipment, the entire range of what you would call vehicle financing is today something that all the large banks, all the large NBFCs are involved in. However, if you go back, let's say to the 1980s, you would find that the banks would more or less not touch commercial vehicle finance operators. They would not do car financing, right? Why? Because they did not understand the risks involved. nor did they have the collection mechanisms to tackle retail credit. So then in the 90s, at the end of the 90s and in the early 2000s, as they watched the NBFCs being more and more successful in financing, not only financing vehicle operators and passenger cars, also their success in collecting the monies that they lent, right? I mean, you had NBFCs who had 98 and 99% collection ratios. And then obviously the competition thought this must be a great business, you know, if they're collecting so much. And soon thereafter, you found a huge influx of not only domestic banks, but also in the late 90s and early 2000s, a number of foreign banks who got into the fray, financing mostly passenger cars, but some of them even commercial vehicles and heavy trucks, and including some multinational NBFCs who had entered the country. So suddenly, a business which was considered high risk suddenly became something that everyone wanted to go after. And to add to this, you also had the credit rating agencies, the credit information bureaus at that time, CIBIL, which came into vogue. And suddenly what happened was that all these guys who had no credit history suddenly had a credit score. So a customer who was considered more or less untouchable by the formal banking and lending system suddenly became the darling of all of these people because they had what in informal parlance we say, CIBIL hai kya? So if you had a CIBIL score of 750 or whatever that number was, suddenly they became the darlings of the banks, right? So one of the main contributions of the NBFCs was the mainstreaming of hitherto unbanked, underbanked customers who did not come with credit records, who did not come with credit histories. And this was a dramatic game changer because it did two things. One, it made the availability of credit for small borrowers, for those who didn't have bank statements, cash flow statements, so on and so forth. So credit availability for them opened up dramatically. More importantly, I think it gave them a choice, right? As a borrower today, armed with a credit score, a humble truck driver could now go and shop around for rates, something that he hadn't been able to do in an earlier era. It opened up a huge opportunity for them to shop around to get the best rates they could. And automatically, as it happens in all perfect markets, as competition came in, everyone was forced to sharpen their pencil in terms of not only the pricing that they offered, but in terms of the service that they offered, in terms of the customer outreach. So the overall customer experience became far superior thanks to the opening up of this space to a much larger canvas. So this was the first big change to me that happened in the early 2000s, was the advent, as I said, of the credit bureaus and the entry of large players, including the banks. Then, of course, side by side, what happened was also, from a regulatory side, a lot of things happened. At the time that they happened, we as an industry felt some of them were very harsh. But in retrospect, I think it's fair to say many of the changes that came about in the regulatory framework actually helped to make the industry more disciplined. It made sure that those who were in the space carried on business on a sound footing as per good corporate practices, and overall the transparency in the way NBFCs operated, I think, has improved dramatically over the last 20 years. So as I say, while we were going through it, it was probably a little painful, but as we look back, I think much of it actually helped us as an industry to improve our processes, improve our discipline, and generally make us, more responsible as lenders, right? So these are some of the quick snapshots as I look back at how we've grown and arrived at where we've arrived. So now we look ahead to, where do NBFCs go from here? This is a question that's been asked often. With the banks coming, will NBFCs disappear? With so much regulation, will NBFCs disappear? With funding being so hard to find, will NBFCs disappear? My considered and humble answer to all of those questions is an emphatic no. I believe, regardless of whatever else is happening, of course, banks are very large and very credible competitors, but that does not mean that there is no room for anybody else. In fact, as an industry, the one thing that we've long argued is that this is a model of collaboration, not confrontation, right? This is a model where the banks are wholesalers and NBFCs are retailers. So the role that NBFCs have played will not only continue, I think it will evolve into newer things, into newer areas. And let me try and explain some of that. Now, if you look at the latest entrant into the NBFC space, it is probably the microfinance institutions. Now, they typically service, the bottom of the pyramid where nobody would dare to go, 15 years ago. But the MFIs have shown how relevant they are, not only relevant, how critical they are for the development of people at the bottom of the pyramid, right? So if you take the various layers within the NBFC space, you look at the MFIs, then you've got the small NBFCs which operate typically in a single state or maybe in 2 or 3 states. Then you've got the mid-sized NBFCs which operate regionally, and then you have the larger NBFCs which operate nationally. Now, if you look at, and there are various statistics that are thrown around, I don't know how credible they are, but approximately 2/3 of our economy, the Indian economy, is basically made up of what is loosely called MSME, right? Which is medium, small, but small can even mean tiny, right? So from the guy, the street vendor, at the street corner, going up to the guy, who runs a Tata truck, to a guy who owns 3 or 4 trucks, to a guy who operates a JCB, to a guy who operates a small manufacturing welding unit. So the gamut is massive. But all of these guys are essentially entrepreneurs, right? And there's 2 things. Their need for finance is virtually limitless, right? Because as our economy grows, and as it has done, taking away these 2 years of pandemic, the need for capital, right, for these entrepreneurs to grow is absolutely limitless, right? But it's not only a question of capital, it's also a question of understanding these businesses, understanding the risks associated with these businesses, understanding the opportunities also in each of these businesses. And very often, this is a specialized role, which is where I think the NBFCs have played and will continue to play a very, very critical role. No doubt, technology has come in a big way to help people navigate some of these complexities. And technology will certainly continue to be more and more of an enabler. not only for lenders, but also for borrowers in terms of their ease of interaction, so on and so forth. But the expertise which NBFCs have developed in lending to these various segments of MSMEs, to my mind, is something that is really unique. The relationships that they have built and cultivated over a long period, their expertise in being able to assess credit, their ability to reach out in a timely fashion to help when the borrower most needs it, including giving them forbearance in their times of stress. This level of in-depth understanding that NBFCs have, to my mind, cannot be replaced by technology. It cannot be replaced by, large-scale banks who operate pan-India, because very often the knowledge that is required both to assess and lend and thereafter collect from these segments is a very specialized skill. It is a skill that has been built in many cases over generations. Because bear in mind, many of the smaller NBFCs are still family owned, family managed. So there are sometimes 3 or even 4 generations of knowledge, relationships, expertise that has been built up, which no amount of artificial intelligence or machine learning can substitute. Technology can certainly be a great support. Technology can certainly be a great enabler. But to my mind, in this unique market of India, which has so many different tapestries, which has so many different weaves, it is impossible to have any one model which will answer to every situation. That is something that is uniquely human. That is something that NBFCs have uniquely built and developed, as I said, over many, many decades. So as we go forward into the next 10, 20, 30 years, and as India keeps its tryst with the many dreams, I mean, we talk of a 5 trillion economy and I don't know what else, but we are a very young population. We are a very aspirational population. 60% or so of our population is, in the working age group. So there are lots of ambitions, lots of aspirations, and there is an India, an exciting new India that is waiting to be built. And to me, we as a sector, NBFCs as a sector, have an extremely critical role to play, right? It's not just that we have an opportunity. For me, it is a huge role that we have to play alongside the banks, alongside the larger institutions, the NBFCs, big, small, medium, all of us have a very, very critical role to play, because, as I said, it is the NBFCs who are the bridge for the small entrepreneurs to move on and to graduate to bigger things, right? And that vital link is something, to my mind, we will always continue to provide. This bridge is what will lead millions of our younger people, our younger entrepreneurs, on to bigger things, into mainstream business, into mainstream banking, all of that. But at the start of their journey, it is us. It is the NBFCs who have to be there to hold hands with them, to give them the support that they need, to give them the financial strength that they need, which will allow them to then build on their dreams and move forward. No doubt there will be challenges. The biggest of those challenges, to my mind, is technology. And of course, this is something all of us recognize. And I know at various levels, each one of us is doing what we have to to address the challenges of technology. The second, equally important challenge will be that of funding, because unfortunately, there is still a lot of negativism around NBFCs, sadly, because of one or two high-profile, failures in the sector. But, this is something that is beyond our control. I think the only thing that NBFCs can do is continue to demonstrate our commitment to the business that we've done for all these decades, and in demonstrating that we are capable of being a very disciplined set of players within the financial system. The third one, of course, is regulatory. We have to expect that regulation will only get tighter, because the publicly stated view of the Reserve Bank is that they want to harmonize regulations between NBFCs and banks, while as an industry body, FIDC has been very, very vocally and vociferously putting forth some of the problems and challenges that we face as NBFCs. Of course, to the extent that it's possible, as an industry body, we will continue to do that. But I think we should be accustomed to this reality that regulation is not going to become easier. If at all, it will only become tougher. But, we have shown in the past that we have the ability to adapt. We have the resilience to bounce back from however difficult a situation we have been faced with. So I am quite confident, and as I said a little earlier, the answer to the question of is there no future for NBFCs, my emphatic answer is no. Right? I think NBFCs have a very strong role to play in the growth and development of our economy. We have a very critical role to play in terms of financial inclusion, and the dream that Mukesh Bhai dreamt, right, of the small NBFCs going and improving the lives of people at the bottom of the pyramid, that dream to me is completely intact, completely alive. And, I'm sure, Mukesh Bhai, wherever you are, you should be happy that you've left behind a fantastic legacy. And this legacy will be carried forward not only by your team at MAS, but by the entire NBFC sector in the years ahead. I think I've just about reached the end of my time. So once again, Kamlesh Bhai, Team MAS, and all of you listening in today, thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, sir, for those words, for making us understand the journey through the history of this 90-year-old industry and sharing its contribution, as well as making us understand its role in the coming future. Thank you once again for your time and the words again, sir. It was absolute an honor to have you with us over here today. Well, moving ahead, I would now request Ms. Darshana Pandya, the Executive Director and CEO of Mass Financial Services Limited, to please join us and share a few words with us.
Thank you, Lipi. Respected all, a very good evening. On behalf of Team MAS, I thank all of you for having graced this occasion of the first memorial lecture of our co-founder, Shri Mukesh Bhai Gandhi. I know it is very difficult to speak on this occasion. I had the privilege to work with him for more than 2 decades. The very distinct and rather the only memory of him is his grace and ever-smiling face. His calmness had the influencing impact on all of us working with him and made a difficult task also look extremely easy. We as a team learned the qualities of being calm, but confident and assertive. He had an outstanding quality of teaching all of us, especially with great clarity and focus on fundamentals, particularly in the aspects of accounting and its implications, which is very vital in our lending business. Of working with him during the IPO, more specifically, During this strenuous period of completing all the formalities involving various stakeholders is something that will always remain with me, not only as learning, but also for his outstanding quality as a person. The trusteeship approach and the capabilities to take everyone together remains the most solid founding stone of this organization, which is all ready to reach greater heights in the times to come. Living beyond the years of life through the deeds and institutions you build is the hallmark of great personalities, and I firmly believe that is absolutely true for our beloved and most respected Mukesh sir also. We know that his blessings are always with us. Thank you all once again for joining us today. Thank you.
Ma'am, for those words. His strength, his learnings, his rules, everything, his blessings are with the entire team, I'm sure. Thank you once again for being with us. Well, moving ahead, as we've been talking about getting inspired, as we've been talking about moving on with life, now is the time to open our minds and get inspired and grow. Friends, let's learn, unlearn, and turn our setbacks into comebacks. I would like to introduce to this August gathering a motivational guru who actually doesn't need an introduction. He's an author, educator, business consultant, a much sought after motivational speaker. Over 8 million copies of his books have been sold globally, including his international bestseller, You Can Win, in 21 languages. Lakhs and lakhs have been benefited from his dynamic workshops internationally in over 20 countries, and millions have heard him as a keynote speaker in the past decade. He's appeared on numerous television and radio shows as well, and his trademark is, winners don't do things different, they do things differently. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Shiv Khera with a warm applause of you all over here. Welcome, sir.
All right. Lippy, thank you for your kind words. In fact, I just overheard, the eulogy and, the respect paid to Mr. Mukesh Gandhi by Darshana Pandit, and also by the guest of honor before that. I think words are not enough to really pay respect for people like that. But it reminds me, किसी ने एक बहुत अच्छी बात कही है कि when a good human being passes away, they don't die, they only depart. एक अच्छा इंसान कभी चला जाता है तो वो they don't die, they only depart. Means they live forever through their good deeds. वो अमर हो जाता है इंसान. That person is amar. And that is exactly what I hear from the previous two speakers who spoke about him, and the legacy that he has left was absolutely amazing. खैर, उन्होंने जो legacy छोड़ी है, I just want to, the topic today is turn setbacks into comebacks. And मुकेश भाई गांधी ने भी वही अपना जो turn setback, जितने भी setback थे, he turned them into a comeback, and that is exactly what he has done in life. I just want to clarify, मैं ज़्यादा पढ़ा लिखा नहीं हूँ. मेरा academics है, I'm a BCom 3rd division, failed in my 10th. That's my academics. मैं एक business परिवार से आया हूँ. हम लोग की कोल माइंस थी इंडिया में, तकरीबन 1000 लोग काम करते थे हमारे यहाँ पे, और I did not create the mines, I inherited them. जब mines nationalize हो गई, तो we literally came on the street. Street means street. Some families had money, our family did not. My father had died when I was just about finishing college, and we were left with the liabilities and the assets were gone. And I was married only 4 weeks then. और मुझे याद है कि तकरीबन 1 साल बाद my daughter was born, and I did not have $10 to buy milk that night. So I sold some of the last piece of my mother's jewelry to get released from the hospital. And after that, I tried my hands on 3 businesses with no money, and I failed in all 3. उसके बाद November 13, 1975, मैं इंडिया छोड़ के चला गया अमेरिका. पहले गया टोरंटो, and I started life with a bucket in my hand, washing cars door to door. 1.5 साल 2 साल घर घर जाके मैं गाड़ियां साफ करता था वहां पे. And totally by accident, I got into selling life insurance, which in my opinion was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. But within 90 days, my manager called me right back to fire me for non-performance. अब उसके बाद देखिए कि what are the turning points in my life? तभी डॉक्टर नॉर्मन विंसेंट पील टोरंटो में आए थे, जिन्होंने किताब लिखी पावर ऑफ पॉजिटिव थिंकिंग. लिपि, आपने कभी नाम सुना होगा उनका शायद. तो मैं उनके प्रोग्राम में चला गया वहां पे. That was one of the turning points in my life. उसके बाद when I came back, I started hitting $1 million policies, and I got into 3 businesses. I bought out a company out of California in 1984, started a New Jersey operation with no clients, and I sold my company with close to 500 clients for a decent sum. ये मेरी पिछले 45-47 साल की जो जीवन है मेरा पिछला, I've just covered that right in about 5 minutes. But what are the things that turned my life at that point? After attending Dr. Norman Vincent Peale's program, what changed? You see, till then, I kept failing all my life and kept blaming the whole world for my failure, not realizing that I was my own biggest problem. And nothing changed outside. Something changed inside, and the direction in my life changed. Now, अब मैं आपसे आज बात करना चाहता हूं कि आज की जो पेंडेमिक चल रहा है सारी दुनिया में, there is no finish line. There is no finish line here. Nobody knows कि 2 महीने में खत्म होगा, 2 साल में खत्म होगा. Nobody knows this. And because of that, it is causing a lot of uncertainty. And the uncertainty is causing insecurity. And the insecurity is causing anxiety, stress, depression, frustration, and even anger in people. Okay. Now, मेरा यही कहना है कि हर जो तनाव होता है, stress, is both normal and natural. Anybody who says they have no stress, they belong into the lunatic asylum. Now, all stress is not bad. जो athlete होता है at the Olympics, is he under stress? Answer is yes. If he has no stress, there's no way he can perform. मेरे को एक ही उदाहरण जो दिखता है, which fits right into the application of stress, is at the race course. हम लोगों ने शायद असली जीवन में देखा होगा या पिक्चरों में जरूर देखा होगा, at the race course जो thoroughbreds होते हैं, the thoroughbred horses, when they are taken into the cabin, are they walking casually, relaxed? Answer is no. They are all jumping like this. Why? Because they're under heavy stress. And when they are put into the cabin and the bell rings, what happens? They shoot and they perform. That is a thoroughbred. But if you take a jackass to the race course, This jackass walks so relaxed, comfortably cool. He's not jumping like the thoroughbred. But then, for the rest of his life, he will remain a jackass and he will never perform like a thoroughbred. अब ये जो वाक्य मैं कहने जा रहा हूं लिपि, this is very important. Stress is the price we pay to be a thoroughbred in life. I repeat, stress is the price we pay to be a thoroughbred in life. Now, all of us can handle stress. What we cannot handle is chronic stress. Are you with me, Lippy? Can you hear me? Lippy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly, sir.
All of us can handle stress. What we cannot handle is chronic stress. अब मैं आपसे एक ही बात पूछना चाहता हूं. आप देखिए, how come under the same sort of circumstances, some people break records while others break themselves? How come? एक ही हालात में कुछ लोग नए रिकॉर्ड तोड़ देते हैं, कुछ लोग अपने आप को तोड़ लेते हैं. How come? That's the big question. Now, with that in mind, हम लोग का एक quotation है which says, winners don't do different things, they do things differently. जीतने वाले कोई अलग काम नहीं करते, हर काम अलग ढंग से करते हैं. तो अक्सर लोग मेरे से पूछते हैं, साहब वो अलग ढंग से क्या काम करते हैं? तो मेरा उनको जवाब यही है कि जीतने वाले उस काम करने की आदत बना लेते हैं जो हारने वाले कभी करना नहीं चाहते. और ऐसा कौन सा काम है जो हारने वाले नहीं करना चाहते? वही काम है जो जीतने वाले भी नहीं करना चाहते लेकिन फिर भी करते हैं. आप देखिए, हारने वाले सुबह नहीं उठना चाहते, ऐसा जीतने वाले भी नहीं उठना चाहते लेकिन फिर भी उठते हैं. हारने वाले मेहनत नहीं करना चाहते, अरे जीतने वाले भी मेहनत नहीं करना चाहते लेकिन फिर भी करते हैं. हारने वाले उस काम करने की आदत बना लेते हैं, जीतने वाले कभी करना नहीं चाहते. और वही काम है. आप देखिए, आदत बना लेना बहुत जरूरी है. अगर हमको कोई सोचना पड़े कोई काम अच्छे तरीके निपुणता से करने को, तो हम कभी नहीं कर पाएंगे. इट मस्ट कम ऑटोमेटिक, इट मस्ट कम ऑटोमेटिक. आपने कितनी बार ये सुना है लोगों को कहते हुए कि साहब इसकी तो किस्मत ही अच्छी है, ये तो मिट्टी को हाथ लगाता है सोना हो जाती है. सुना है क्या आपने? और इसकी तो किस्मत खराब है साहब, सोने को हाथ लगाता है मिट्टी हो जाती है. साहब इस बात में सच्चाई है. देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ ट्रूथ इन द स्टेटमेंट. जिसको हम कहते हैं कि इसकी किस्मत अच्छी है, आप जाके उनका जीवन देखिए. Analyze every transaction in their life and you will find the positive behavior has become habitual. Every time they do it right, it happens right, the reflexes move right. And जिसे हम कहते हैं कि इसकी किस्मत खराब है, ये सोने को हाथ लगाता है मिट्टी हो जाती है, उसका जीवन देखें आप. Analyze every transaction in their life and you will find negative behavior has become habitual. Every time they do it wrong, it happens wrong. साहब छोटी सी चीज देखें आप. हम लोग जब छोटे थे, हमारे माँ बाप क्या कहते थे? बेटा अच्छी आदतें बनाओ क्योंकि आदतों से चरित्र बनता है. अगर हमारी आदतें अच्छी हैं तो हमारा चरित्र अच्छा है. आदतें खराब है तो हमारा चरित्र खराब है, क्योंकि 90% हमारा बिहेवियर जो होता है, इट इज टोटली हैबिचुअल. We don't think, we just act. And good habits are hard to come by, but they're easy to live with. Bad habits come easy, but they're hard to live with. And before we got the habits got us. Are you with me, Lippy? Before we got the habit has got us. Now, if we have to think to do the right thing, we can never do it right. Winners form the habit of doing things losers don't like to do. ये मैं क्यों कह रहा हूं? क्योंकि मुकेश भाई ने जो अपना एक जीवन, एक चरित्र बनाया था, it was habitually he was doing right things in life. Habitually, they came automatic. He didn't have to think right. It was coming automatically right. यही कहते हैं, winners don't do different things, they do things. आपको एक उदाहरण देता हूं मैं. इन मार्शल आर्ट, when these young kids learning martial art, when they get the white belt, yellow, orange, purple, brown, black belt, 5 साल के बाद, black belt is still practicing the same thing what he learned in the white belt. And what is that? Block punch, block punch, block punch, block punch. 5 साल के बाद. Why? Because the teacher wants to get the block and punch into reflex action. Why? Because the teacher realizes that if the student is ever in a street fight, if he has to think to block and punch, what will happen? He'll get beaten up. A martial arts student never has to think to block and punch. Their reflexes move. And आपने कहावत सुनी है, practice makes perfect. आपने सुना है कि practice makes perfect? Do you agree that this statement is true, that practice makes perfect? If you say yes, do thumbs up. Okay, incorrect answer. ध्यान दीजिएगा, practice does not make perfect. Practice only makes permanent whatever you practice. साहब, अभ्यास से निपुणता नहीं आती है. अभ्यास से वही स्थायी हो जाता है आप जिस चीज का अभ्यास करते हैं. So, important thing is, when these kids start learning martial art, and initially they start hitting hard. So at that time, the teacher says, son, don't hit hard. Go slow. Go slow. Learn the right form. If your form is incorrect, your incorrect form will become permanent. Your incorrect form will become permanent. Practice does not make perfect. Practice only makes permanent whatever you practice. So, यही चीज अगर एक legacy मुकेश भाई ने छोड़ी है, that do the right thing in the right manner, and that is the crucial part. Okay, I read his, उनकी जो biography मेरे को आई है, I read it carefully, and then what I have just listened to the two speakers going ahead, it was a great tribute to him. That is wonderful. Now, this pandemic has impacted us 3 ways. 1, it has impacted our life. 2, our livelihood. 3, our lifestyle. 3 things. Now, how has it impacted our life? See, what we do and where we go and who we meet could be a matter of life and death. Are you with me? See, it has impacted our life. 2 is, it has impacted our livelihood. All over the world, it has impacted their job cuts, salary cuts. Somewhere, something has gone wrong. Even the governments are going broke right now. Now, all I can say to you is one thing. And I can relate to Mukesh Bhai's life. साहब, मैं जब लाइफ इंश्योरेंस बेच रहा था, I was on commission. और जो मुकेश भाई की मैंने जीवनी पढ़ी है, that is all based on performance. He has performed. Nobody has given him any money. He has performed. Now, so when I was selling life insurance, I used to get paid a commission. Now, if I didn't sell, I wouldn't get any money, and I had no money. So, but in my company, Lippy, I saw there were some people who were getting salaries, but they were not doing their job. That is where I learned the difference between making money versus earning money. Making money is criminal, earning money is spiritual. साहब, पैसा बनाने में और पैसा कमाने में जमीन आसमान का फर्क है. पैसा बनाना क्रिमिनल होता है, पैसा कमाना is spiritual. Now, what is the difference? When you earn money, you put your energy and ethics behind it. And that is crucial. And sadly today, most people want to make money without earning it. And the important thing is that we need to realize and understand that wages without work amounts to stealing. Are you with me, Lippy? Wages without work amounts to stealing. Yeah? Okay. Now, the third thing is it has impacted our lifestyle. But before I get into the lifestyle, you see, every few years, there is a new buzzword that comes up. 5 साल पहले the नया buzzword जो इंडिया में निकला था उसको कहते थे startup. Everybody was starting up. Then the new buzzword came, make in India. So everybody was making in India. And now the new buzzword is work from home. Work from home. मैं आपसे ये बात पूछना चाहता हूं कि how can you work from home in a construction industry? Can you? Answer is no. How can you work from home in a manufacturing industry? Can you? Answer is no. And I had a banker visit me the other day. तो मैंने कहा भैया आप salaries पे कर रहे हो अपने staff को, and are you getting the output? Can you justify the salaries? तो जवाब क्या देता है? कहता है Mr. Khera, the 80-20 rule applies. 80-20 rule says only 20% people are mature enough and responsible to work without supervision. 80% people, even if you give them measurable targets, they still need supervision. And sadly, people who are not mature, they think working from home is a paid vacation. It's not a paid vacation. But sadly, it is true. It comes back to integrity issue. And finally, let me share, it is our lifestyle. हमारे लाइफस्टाइल को इसने कैसे इम्पैक्ट किया है? जब तक ये लॉकडाउन नहीं हुआ था, we were all running in the fast lane. Everybody was running. साहब किसी के पास टाइम ही नहीं था. Now look at the paradox. The amount of time-saving devices we have today, we have never had that many in history, and yet we don't have what? We don't have time. देखिए साहब कैसे कमाल की बात है. जितने टाइम सेविंग डिवाइसेस हैं हमारे पास आज, कभी जिंदगी में नहीं थे, लेकिन किस चीज की कमी है? टाइम. You know why? Because somewhere we messed up our priorities. और मैं यहां पे खाली लेक्चर देने नहीं आया हूं, मैं खुद गिल्टी हूं साहब. I messed up my own priorities many times. And when we mess up our priorities, हम अपनी प्राथमिकताएं भूल जाते हैं. See, when we mess up our priorities, we forget to distinguish between what's urgent in life and what's important in life. Now, urgent may or may not be important, and important may or may not be urgent. But the interesting thing is, whenever we ignore what is important, it always converts into urgent. देखिए, सेहत is very important. Exercising every day is very important, but it's not urgent. Now, if I have a crucial meeting tonight, and if I cannot exercise, it's not the end of the world. But if I ignore my health long enough, guess what happens? I will end up in the hospital. साहब मजे की बात ये देखिए, जब भी आप कोई important चीज को ignore करते हैं, it always converts into urgent. जिंदगी में रिश्ते, relationships are important, but they're not urgent. But if you ignore relationship long enough, guess what happens? You start talking through your lawyers. Are you with me? You start talking through your lawyers. Whenever we ignore what is important, it always converts into urgent. Now, what this crisis has done is made people step backwards and re-evaluate the priorities. आप लोगों से पूछिए कि साहब, who are the most important people in your life? My family. Why do you go to work? I go to work for my family. Why do you work hard? I work hard for my family. And who are the most important people in life? My family. And who are the most neglected? Also my family. What a joke. The most important people many times do become the most neglected people also, which is sad but true. But what this crisis has done is that people have stepped backwards and realized that till now, अब तक हम लोग सब दौड़े चले जा रहे थे, दौड़े। लेकिन कभी हमने ये नहीं सोचा कि are we running in the right direction? Now people have realized one thing, that in life, direction is much more important than speed. Are you with me? ध्यान से सुनिए, in life, direction is much more important than speed. So this is what it has impacted our lifestyle. Now, how do we overcome the crisis, and how do we turn a setback into a comeback? I will share with you some steps on what we can do in life. Because I have had 3 major setbacks in my life, and what helped me come back is what I'm going to share with you. Step 1. I'll go slow. Step 1. पहला स्टेप है साहब, इसको कहते हैं the serenity prayer. Serenity prayer. तकरीबन 47 साल पहले मैंने एक प्रोग्राम अटेंड किया था बाय डॉक्टर नॉर्मन विंसेंट पील। तकरीबन 1000 लोग थे वहां पे। डॉक्टर पील आए, उन्होंने सब पर नजर दौड़ाई और उन्होंने कहा कि लगता है आप लोग सब यहां पे बहुत रिलैक्स बैठे हैं, कंफर्टेबल बैठे हैं, लगता है किसी को कोई समस्या नहीं है। तो उन्होंने पूछा कि साहब यहां पे किसी को समस्या है? साहब किसके पास समस्या नहीं है? तो एवरीबडी, सबने हाथ खड़ा कर दिया, हाँ साहब समस्या है। तब डॉक्टर पील ने पूछा कि कितने लोग समस्या से छुटकारा पाना चाहते हैं? तो फिर सबने हाथ खड़ा कर दिया, हम समस्या से छुटकारा पाना चाहते हैं। तो डॉक्टर पील बोले कि जब मैं यहां पे आ रहा था आप लोगों को एड्रेस करने के लिए, यहां से 200 गज दूर मैंने एक जगह देखी, वहां पर कुछ लोग लेटे हुए थे, टोटली रिलैक्स, कंफर्टेबल, कूल, उनको कोई समस्या ही नहीं थी। कितने लोग जानना चाहते हैं कौन सी जगह है? तो सबने हाथ खड़ा कर दिया। तो डॉक्टर पील बोले यहां से 200 गज दूर एक शमशान घाट है और वहां पर लोग लेटे हुए हैं, एकदम रिलैक्स, कंफर्टेबल, टोटली कूल, उनको कोई समस्या ही नहीं है। तब उन्होंने पूछा कि कितने लोग समस्या से छुटकारा पाना चाहते हैं? तो किसी ने हाथ नहीं खड़ा किया, सबने हाथ जेब में डाल दिया। तो साहब डॉक्टर पील उस दिन ये बोले, याद रखिए समस्या एक जीवन का प्रतीक है। प्रॉब्लम इज ए साइन ऑफ लाइफ। समस्या एक जीवन का प्रतीक है। अरे भैया, जब तक जिंदा रहोगे समस्या रहेगी, और जब समस्या ही नहीं रहेगी आप ही नहीं रहोगे। और जब समस्या कम होने लगे उस टाइम गेट ऑन योर नीज एंड प्रे टू गॉड। अरे भरोसा छोड़ दिया, कुछ समस्या ही भेज दो भाई। तो उस दिन डॉक्टर पील ने एक प्रार्थना दी, मेरे हिसाब से वो जीवन का निचोड़ है। इट इज द एसेंस ऑफ लाइफ। और पिछले 45 साल से मैंने आज तक कभी घर छोड़ा नहीं ये प्रार्थना किए बगैर। एंड देयर आर मेनी एडवर्सिटीज आई हैव कम अक्रॉस। मैं एक बार इंग्लिश में बोलूंगा, फिर हिंदी में बोलूंगा इसको। एंड इट गोज लाइक दिस। God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference. परमात्मा मुझे संतुलन दो कि जो मैं बदल नहीं सकता आपकी सौगात समझ के स्वीकार करूं, और अगर बदल सकता हूं तो मुझे इतनी हिम्मत और हौसला दो कि मैं उसे बदल दूं, और इतनी सुबुद्धि दो कि उनमें फर्क बता सकूं क्या बदल सकता हूं और क्या मैं नहीं बदल सकता। मैन, इन माय ओपिनियन दिस इज द क्रक्स ऑफ लाइफ। अगर आप इस छोटी सी प्रार्थना को एनालाइज कीजिए और डाइसेक्ट कीजिए, परमात्मा मुझे संतुलन दो जो मैं बदल नहीं सकता, आपकी सौगात समझ के स्वीकार करूं। नाउ माय क्वेश्चन इज, क्या हम जिंदगी में हर चीज घुमा फिरा के बदल सकते हैं अपने आप को सूट करने के लिए? आंसर इज नो। कैन वी मैनिपुलेट एवरीथिंग इन दिस वर्ल्ड टू सूट आवरसेल्फ? आंसर इज नो। बहुत सी चीजें हमारे हाथ से बाहर है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, I didn't choose my parents, neither did you. I didn't decide where I was going to be born, neither did you. If this is my height and the color of my skin, there's nothing I can do. And granted, कई लोग अपाहिज पैदा हो जाते हैं साहब, क्या गलती की उन्होंने भगवान जाने। कई बार अच्छे लोगों के साथ बुरे हादसे भी हो जाते हैं, क्या गलती की उन्होंने किसी को नहीं मालूम। अरे भाई, ये पेंडेमिक क्राइसिस आ गया, कोरोना क्राइसिस आ गया, कौन लेके आया? अरे भगवान जाने। बट इट इज हियर, बट इट्स हियर। सो कहता है जो बदल नहीं सकता आपकी सौगात समझ के स्वीकार करो, क्योंकि बहुत बारी हम उन चीजों के साथ लड़ते रहते हैं जो हम बदल नहीं सकते, और अपनी जिंदगी में तनाव लेके चले आते हैं, and we become paralyzed totally and we become unproductive. So what I cannot change, let me accept it graciously, not grudgingly. And if I can change, then give me the guts to do it. And give me the wisdom to know the difference, what I can and what I cannot. अब मैंने एक अपनी नई किताब लिखी है, यू कैन अचीव मोर, जो लंदन में लॉन्च हुई थी बात 2 साल पहले। यू कैन अचीव मोर। मैंने उस किताब में यही सोच लेके 2 कदम आगे बढ़ गया मैं उसमें। तो उसमें मैंने लिखा है कि जिंदगी एक फैसला भी है और जिंदगी एक समझौता भी है। इट सीम्स लाइक अ कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन बट नॉट रियली। Life is full of choices and life is full of compromises. So, how is life full of compromises? Sorry, how is life full of choices? See, if I ill-treat you, I have chosen to be ill-treated, haven't I? अगर मैं आपके साथ बदतमीजी के साथ पेश आता हूं, तो I have chosen to be treated with बदतमीजी. If I treat you with discourtesy, I have chosen to be treated with discourtesy, haven't I? And if I light up a cigarette, I have chosen to invite cancer, haven't I? And if I exercise every day, I have chosen to invite good health, haven't I? But if I eat too much every day, I have chosen to be obese, haven't I? And hear this, if I tell lies, I have chosen to lose my credibility, haven't I? Are you with me? And if I tell the truth, I have chosen to be a credible person, haven't I? Folks, are you with me? See, life is full of choices. Now, अब ये बहुत जरूरी वाक्य है. We are all free to the point of choice. But after we make our choices, the choice controls the chooser. We have no more choice. I repeat, we are all free to the point of choice. But after we make our choices, the choice controls the chooser. We have no more choice. Folks, how is life full of compromises? तो आप किसी ने बहुत अच्छी बात कही है. We cannot choose the cards that are dealt to us. What we can choose how we play the game. जिंदगी में ताश के पत्ते कैसे मिलते हैं इसका फैसला हम नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन खेल कैसे खेलते हैं इसका फैसला हम जरूर कर सकते हैं साहब. And sometimes nature gives us a lemon The choice is ours. Do we cry or do we make lemonade? That is our choice. Now, sometimes people ask me, Mr. Khera, जो लोग सफल होते हैं जिंदगी में, क्या वो गलतियां नहीं करते? और जो लोग असफल होते हैं, क्या वो अच्छे काम नहीं करते? तो मेरा इनको एक यही जवाब है that people who are successful, they do make mistakes. But remember, making a mistake once in a while does not bring failure. Repeating the same mistake again and again is what brings failure. And doing something positive once in a while does not bring success either. Repeating the same positive behavior again and again is what brings success. So, folks, what is success? Series of positive choices in life is called success. And series of negative choices in life is called failure. Folks, are you with me? Are you with me? Okay. Now, important thing is, this is step one. So in my opinion, the Serenity Prayer has been a great source of strength to me. Okay. Now, step two, how do we turn a setback into a comeback? So, ऐसा है कि if during this crisis, if we have not upskilled ourselves or become more knowledgeable or become healthy and fitter, we cannot blame that we have no time. आपको एक उदाहरण देता हूं. ये जो लॉकडाउन हुआ था, this took place in March of 2020. मैंने अपना पहला वेबिनार किया था on April 8th of 2020. Now, interestingly, Lippy, till then, I did not know how to turn a computer on. In my life to date, I have never done an email. Till then, I was learning to do SMS. Now, I'm not an expert, but from April 2020, I started learning how to operate a laptop and a computer. And since April to date, I have done 207 webinars. 207 webinars. And many for Pricewaterhouse, Deloitte, and many other companies, and they're paying us for it. I didn't even know we had another opportunity open to us. And so what has happened? I've upskilled myself. Number two, every day. At one time, I used to read 30, 40 books a year, but I dropped the habit. But I went back and I started picking my books. So today, every day, I read 2 to 3 hours of my books or listen to a good motivational video every day, 2 to 3 hours every day. So I am becoming more knowledgeable. Now, barring the last few months where I was being unwell, but before that, I lost 7 kilos of weight. I was exercising every day. I was feeling fitter and healthier. So why am I sharing all this? That during this crisis, if we have not upskilled ourselves or if we have not become more knowledgeable or become healthy and fitter, we cannot blame that we had no time. Time is all we have today. Now मैं ये आपसे बात क्यों कह रहा हूं कि अमेरिका में एक सर्वे हुआ और उसमें उन्होंने बताया कि तकरीबन an average American watches 3 to 4 hours of TV per day. Per day. This is before the crisis. 4 घंटे रोज टीवी देखते हैं सब लोग. Now, this is not an average American. This is average European, Indian, Australian, everybody. And right now, during the pandemic, there are people watching 8-10 hours of TV per day. Now, don't get me wrong. People enjoy watching TV. There's a nice movie and we enjoy it, we relax. But watching 4 hours of TV per day, what the hell are you doing? You are wasting your life. Now, मैंने अपनी किताब में You Can Achieve More में I've shared a survey which said that 85% of millionaires and billionaires in the world are first generation. Only 15% coming from inheritance. 85% of millionaires and billionaires are first generation. तो इनसे पूछा गया कि साहब, how did you achieve so much financial success in such a short time? साहब इनका जवाब सुनिए. कहते हैं कि साहब, we need books. How many books? We need 50 books a year. 50 books means 1 book a week. 1 book a week. And they were asked, what kind of books do you read? And the answer was, we have no time to waste. We don't read fiction because fiction will remain fiction. We only read self-help books. Why? Because one good idea is worth $1 million. And tell me, how many ideas do we need to succeed in life? Only one. Same thing. Mukesh Bhai came up with one good idea and that led to so many more. How many ideas do we need to succeed in life? Only one. And मैंने उसके बाद पढ़ा, Warren Buffett reads 6 to 8 hours per day. Bill Gates is an avid reader. Can you imagine multimillionaires and billionaires read 1 book a week? What does it tell us? There is a tremendous connection between learning and earning and learning and earning and learning and earning. Learn more, earn more, learn more, earn more, learn more, earn more. But you know something? There are people sitting there, unemployed, underemployed, sitting there. किताब नहीं पढ़ेंगे साहब. और जानते हैं क्या कहते हैं? मेरे पास पैसे नहीं हैं. जब पैसे होंगे तब किताब पढ़ेंगे. Do you know you can get any book for free today at any library, but they will never do it. और मैंने एक चीज और सीखी है कि a person who is a serious reader, they will never borrow or lend books. Never, 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 never. कई बार लोग मेरे पास आते हैं, कहते हैं साहब मिस्टर खेरा, I have got a nice book, I can lend it to you. I said, don't. Either give it to me, gift it to me, or sell it to me. Don't lend it to me. Why? Because I won't give it back to you. Why? Because when I read a good book, I always underline, make notes on the side. Why? Because I learned one thing. Reading a good book once is not good enough. कई बार मेरे को लोग कहते हैं साहब मैंने आपकी किताब पढ़ी हुई है, एक बार ही पढ़ी है. मैंने कहा आपने टाइम भी वेस्ट किया और पैसे भी वेस्ट किए. You got nothing out of it. साहब मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूं मैं. Arrow Electronics, $26 billion company from US, they're my clients. During the peak of pandemic, they had a bumper quarter with $2 billion of sales. $2 billion. When businesses are going down, they're going up. So हमने उनसे पूछा कि भैया, how come you achieved such great success? $2 billion. So they celebrated. It was an awards function. They invited me to keynote. So मैंने उनसे पूछा कि भैया, what got you this success? So he said to me, he said, Mr. Khera, you probably don't remember, I attended your program about 10, 15 years ago. And he said, you had your stall at the back, you were selling your books and tapes at the back. He said, I bought your shop. मैंने सारी किताब खरीद ली वहां पे, बड़ी दुकान खरीद ली. I said, what does that mean? He said, I have 1,000 people working for my company. And he said, when I took over as managing director of Arrow Electronics, I had 2% market share. And he said, today we have 20% market share. And he said, I bought a few hundred books for all my people. And he says, in the last 15 years, all my people in the company, including me, I have read your book 15 times. 15 times. And he said to me, कहता है कभी आपको कोई पैराग्राफ भूल जाए कि ये कहां पे है आपकी किताब में, मुझे फोन कीजिएगा, मैं बताऊंगा आपको कौन सी जगह पे आपका ये पैराग्राफ पड़ा हुआ है. He said, I know your book by heart. We read your book every year. Folks, what does it tell us? It is not how much we eat, how much we digest that matters. It is not how much we know, but how much we put into practice that matters. The guy was reading our book 15 times. So खाली किताब एक बारी पढ़ने से कुछ, there are many books I have read at least 7-8 times. And every time I still read it, I find something new. So मैं ये बात आपसे क्यों कह रहा हूं? We need to convert wasted time into productive time. But you know, जिन लोगों के पास कुछ करने को नहीं है, वो साहब 4 घंटे नेटफ्लिक्स देखेंगे, लेकिन कहेंगे साहब मेरे पास टाइम ही नहीं. They will start a new serial and that's all they do. Okay. So, step 3, I will share with you. Step 3, how to overcome stress and turn setback into comeback. And that is, build strong relationships in life. Repeat करता हूं साहब, जिंदगी में मजबूत रिश्ते बनाने चाहिए हम लोगों को. That is our biggest strength. साहब ध्यान दीजिएगा, our biggest strength is not our bank balance. Our biggest strength is our relationship balance. Folks, people who have good relationships, what they can achieve with one phone call, you cannot achieve with $1 million. Are you with me? Yes, no. ध्यान दीजिएगा, some people who have good relationships, what they can achieve with one phone call, you cannot achieve with $1 million. Now, when we talk of relationships, what are we talking? Personal, professional, social. I address many business schools in different parts of the world. तो आजकल MBA में पढ़ाते हैं, go join the Chamber of Commerce, go join the Rotaries, the Lions. Why? Build contacts. Why? You want to do networking. Why? And you ask these people, they run around all over and they are looking to network. And you ask them, why are you networking? I'm building contacts. Why are you building contacts? I'm building contacts because he's a doctor, he's a lawyer, he's a cop, he's a politician, he's a gunda, he's a whatever. Someday he could be useful. Now, usefulness goes, friendship also goes. साहब ध्यान दीजिएगा, they are building contacts. This is what MBA schools are teaching today. They don't understand the difference between building a contact versus building a relationship. There is a huge difference. आज मुकेश भाई को हम याद कर रहे हैं. ध्यान दीजिएगा, मुकेश भाई आज चले गए, बट वो हमारे बीच में है. आज उनको हम क्यों याद कर रहे हैं? Because he built relationships. Are you with me? Hello? He built relationships. हम लोग का एक दफ्तर है सिंगापुर में. तो एक दिन शाम को मैं अपने घर वापस आया, तो a man met me in the lobby and he asked me, Mr. Kira, you come back from dinner? I said, yes. And then he asked me, you met some people tonight? I said, yes. Then he says to me, let me hear this. He said, I hope you met some people who could be useful to you. Look at this. His criteria of meeting people was usefulness. What he can extract out of you. I felt like giving him a piece of my mind and something else also. See, this person does not understand that meeting good people in life is good enough. Usefulness is a byproduct of relationship. Are you with me? Hello? You see, meeting good people in life is good enough. Usefulness is a byproduct of relationship. Okay. Now, आपको एक उदाहरण देता हूं मैं. Supposing I have a friend of 20 years, and tonight if he has a problem, who is the most natural person he will go for help to? The friend of 20 years. He is not going to make new friends tonight. Now, my question is, is it my duty to help? Answer is yes. If I help him, am I doing a favor? No. If I don't help him, am I behaving like a friend? No. Remember one thing, helping a friend is a duty of a friend. It is never the purpose of friendship. Because if it becomes the purpose, then the moment purpose finishes, friendship also finishes. Helping a friend is a duty of a friend. It is never the purpose of friendship. It is always incidental to friendship. Now, what builds relationships? साथ ध्यान दीजिएगा, none of us is perfect. Nobody is perfect. We all have pluses and minuses, don't we? Hence, we need to be tolerant of each other. Now, I see some people here. Let this be the way it is. I can see some faces here. It's nice to talk to people rather than just a blank screen here. Now, folks, important thing is, we all have pluses and minuses. And that is why, in order to build relationship, we must be tolerant. How many agree that it is important to be tolerant? Just raise your thumb up here. Give me a thumbs up, yes, no. We should be tolerant. Thumbs up, yes, no. Yes, no? Okay, all of you gave the wrong answer. All of you gave the wrong answer. Now, folks, hear this carefully. In my vocabulary, tolerance is a bad word. Now, what is a good word I would replace it with? I would replace it with mutual respect. Hear this carefully. I and my wife live together, not because we can tolerate each other. We live together because we respect each other. The day respect for each other goes, we can't live together. See, when we say we're tolerating, we're postponing the blast. Same thing, employers and employees work long-term together, not because they can tolerate each other, but they respect each other. And what brings respect for each other? And what brings respect is our values must match. If our values don't match, you can never respect people. I repeat, if our values do not match, we can never respect people. आप देखिए, जहां पर in organizations where values don't match, you cannot work in the same company. Either you change your values or you change your organization. Check out through all over the world. Not only in companies, Even within families where values don't match, you cannot live in the same family. Either you change your values or you change your family. Are you with me? This is true all over the world. Yes, no? Yes? Okay, good. So folks, now what brings good relationship? साहब आप देखें जिंदगी में relationships are built on, you cannot be a taker in life. Only a taker. काम का आदमी है बना के रखो. You know what it means? He is useful. You see, usefulness goes, friendship also goes. See, these are parasites, rascals. They're takers, and that's all they do in life. You cannot build relationship with people like that. We must learn to give in life. Are you with me? We must learn to give. साहब ये जो मैं तकरीबन 45 minutes हो गए, 1 घंटा होने वाला है मेरे को. I'm looking at my watch. All this that I'm talking to you here today, the last 1 hour, tell me, do you know of any business school that is teaching all this stuff, including your MITs? Nowhere. You see, I had the Dean of James Cook University attend our program. And he said, Mr. Khera, he was in charge of curriculum for 25 years. He said, Mr. Khera, we want you to set up a leadership excellence program for us at the Singapore campus. So they have partnered with us now. And what we have done, because when we do corporate training, dhyan se suniega, when we do corporate training today, we tell people that what we are doing in your company today is repair work, repairing. Now, if you prepare them, you won't have to repair them. Where do you prepare them? You prepare them in schools and colleges. So, since we signed up with these people, we have created a program for the corporates and also the MBA students. Program is called Prepare Them, Don't Repair Them. This is an induction program. Any company, corporate, if you prepare them, people, when they join, you won't have to keep repairing them later. Okay. Build strong relationships in life. Step 4. Okay, step 4. Lippy, I have about 10 more minutes. Lippy, are you there?
Yes, yeah, we do, sir.
Okay, so now let's go further. When we do our leadership program, which I've been doing for the past 35 years, बहुत बारी हम लोगों से पूछते हैं, sir, are you a good person? Are you a good person? So sometimes people say, yes, I'm a good person. So you ask them, what makes you good? They say, well, I don't do bad, so I'm good. I don't tell lies, I don't steal, I don't cheat, so I'm good. So my answer is, I disagree with your answer. Folks, not doing bad does not make a person good. Folks, when people say, I don't tell lies, it only means you are not a liar, but that does not make a person good. If you don't steal, it only means you're not a thief, but that does not make you good. If you don't cheat, it only means you're not a cheat, but that does not make a person good. So go ask a medical doctor. Absence of ill health does not mean good health. I repeat, absence of ill health. अगर आप बीमार नहीं हो तो इसका मतलब नहीं है कि आप सेहतमंद हो. Absence of ill health does not mean good health. A person becomes good when they proactively do good. That is called proactive. Now, why I'm sharing this? Because having read Mr. Mukesh Gandhi's life, he was a proactive person. He was not waiting for things to happen. He made things happen. Now, folks, many times I've learned in the past 35 years doing leadership program for Lufthansa, Johnson & Johnson and others, I've learned one thing, that a good leader takes a stand for something and takes a stand against something. A good leader is never neutral. And if you're neutral, you're a politician. I repeat, a good leader takes a stand for something, takes a stand against something. He's not neutral. And if you're neutral, you are a politician, you are not a leader. Now, let me share with you why I say this. बहुत साल पुरानी बात है, तकरीबन I was addressing about 4-5 हजार लोगों को एड्रेस कर रहा था, तो ऑडियंस से एक आदमी आए, मेरे को पूछते हैं कि मिस्टर खेरा, क्या आप गांधीयन हो? आर यू अ गांधीयन? तो मैंने एक चीज सीखी जिंदगी में, कि one, don't answer a question till you clarify. And two, sometimes the best answer to a question is a question. तो मैंने उनसे पूछा कि भैया ऐसा है कि आप बताइए, who is a Gandhian? How do you define a Gandhian? What are the criteria of being a Gandhian? तो थोड़ा सोच के मुझे बोलते हैं कि Gandhi believed in 3 principles. One, he believed that प्यार से आप दुनिया को जीत सकते हो. With love, you can win everybody in this world. That is one principle of Gandhi. 2, Gandhi believed in the principle of tolerance. And 3, Gandhi believed in the principle of non-violence. 3 principles. तो मेरे को फिर से देख के पूछता है, are you a Gandhian? I don't know what came to my mind. मैंने कहा साहब मुझे 45 साल हो गए अमेरिका में रहते हुए, बट मैं हिंदुस्तानी हूं भैया, and we respect our epics like the Ramayana, Mahabharata and the Guru Granth Sahib Bhagavad Gita. We respect. मैंने पढ़ा नहीं है साहब, I've heard them. तो I don't know, अचानक मेरे दिमाग में आया, तो मैंने उनसे पूछा कि भैया एक बात बताओ, was Ram a Gandhian? Let us look at your 3 criteria. Was Ram a Gandhian? Tell me, number 1, first criteria, was Ram able to win everybody with love? Answer is what? Answer is no. So Ram failed the first test. 2, you said tolerance. Did Ram say, I'm a very tolerant guy? You kidnap my wife, it's okay, I'll get a second one. You kidnap a second one, I'll get a third one. Kidnap a third one, I'll get a fourth one. Did he say that? He said, no, I do not tolerate kidnappers. Folks, are you with me? Hello? Are you with me? Just do me something here. Are you with me? Okay. So Ram said, I do not tolerate kidnappers. So he failed the second test. Third, you said non-violence. What did Ram do? He just pulled out his weapon and he killed it. That was violence. Even if it was self-defense, that was violence. Tell me, did Ram say, let's compromise? Let us divide Sita? He took a stand for something, took a stand against. He didn't say I'm neutral. So that means Ram was not a Gandhian. Why go that far? Go look at our history of the 10 Sikh Gurus. When the Mughals were forcibly converting into Islam, what did the 10th Sikh Guru do? Was he able to win with love? Answer is no. Did he say, I'm very tolerant of your terrorism? He said no. Did he pull out a weapon? He fought. He was not a Gandhian either. And I said, you talk that you have read many of our epics. आपने ग्रंथ बहुत पढ़े हुए हैं. मैंने कहा भैया एक ग्रंथ में एक जगह बता दीजिए जहां पे ये लिखा है कि जब दुश्मन आपकी बहू बेटियों की इज्जत को नीलाम करे, उस टाइम आपको मंदिर में जाके भजन कीर्तन और मेडिटेशन करना चाहिए। कहां लिखा है साहब? Not one place. That's the time to fight. I said they were not a Gandhian. I said, sir, I am not a Gandhian either. I am not a Gandhian. Folks, there are leaders who are listening to this program. A leader has to take a stand in life. Remember, they have to take a stand in life. And if we don't take a stand, we are only a politician, one more politician. Okay, with that, only one last thing, I will close this program. I'll take 3 more minutes and I'll wind up. So, see, with one more thing, that in life to overcome any setbacks, we must learn to accept responsibility. ये मैं बात आपसे क्यों कह रहा हूं? इस वजह से कि विश्वास इंसान को ताकत देता है, लेकिन अंधविश्वास इंसान को कमजोर बनाता है. I repeat, faith gives strength, but blind faith leading to superstition weakens people. We must learn to accept responsibility. Mukesh Bhai did not reach this level by blaming the whole world. He took responsibility and took charge. Now, why am I sharing this with you? One of the biggest damage done to India has been done by our media. Print media, electronic media. आप जब भी टेलीविजन खोलते हैं, what do you see? There is a Babaji sitting there in saffron, भगवा पहने बैठे हैं या सफेद कपड़े पहने बैठे हैं, तिलक लगा के बैठे हैं इधर, तिलक लगा के बैठे हैं इधर, और पूछते हैं बताओ हॉरोस्कोप, हॉरोस्कोप, और पूछ रहे हैं कि भैया जन्म तिथि बताओ, नाम बताओ, कहां से बोल रहे हो बताओ, जन्म टाइम बताओ. बोले जी गुरु जी मालूम नहीं, मालूम नहीं, मालूम नहीं. कहते कोई बात नहीं. एंड ही हैज अ लैपटॉप इन फ्रंट एंड ही डज टिक 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 एंड ही सेज दूसरा तीसरे के घर में बैठा है, तीसरा चौथे के घर में बैठा है, चौथा पांचवें घर में बैठा है, एंड छठा घर में बैठा है, और प्रॉब्लम होगी. फिर कहता है मंगलिक 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 मंगलिक. Then he says, तुम्हारे पे शनि चढ़ गया, शनि चढ़ गया, शनि चढ़ गया. Now the guy is scared. अब बोलता है शनि को उतारने का उपाय क्या है साहब? बोले शनि को उतारने का उपाय ये है, ये काला रुमाल लीजिए, उसमें काली दाल डालिए, उसमें फिर काला काजल लगाइए, फिर काले बाल वाला खोजो, 7 बारी खोपड़ी पे घुमाओ, फिर काला कुत्ता खोजो, काला बर्तन खोजो. सब यही कुछ हो रहा है आज, यही कुछ हो रहा है आज. मैं ये आपसे बात क्यों कह रहा हूं? इस वजह से कि अगर आप स्वामी विवेकानंद की जीवनी पढ़े, स्वामी दयानंद की जीवनी पढ़िए, आप गुरु नानक की जीवनी पढ़िए, आप, they never believed in all these things. In fact, they fought against it. जानते हैं सिख परिवार में कोई पत्री नहीं मिलाते, सिख परिवार में कोई मंगलिक होता ही नहीं. जानते हो सिख परिवार में कोई शुभ मुहूर्त नहीं निकालते शादी का. जानते हो हर सिख वेडिंग इज डन ऑन अ संडे. संडे सूट नहीं करता, डू इट ऑन अ सैटरडे. सैटरडे सूट नहीं करता, दे डू इट ऑन अ फ्राइडे. साहब मैं आपसे ये बात क्यों कह रहा हूं? इस वजह से कह रहा हूं, विश्वास ताकत देता है, अंधविश्वास इंसान को कमजोर बनाता है. और एक और छोटी सी चीज ये है कि मैं आपसे ये पूछना चाहता हूं कि अगर शनि को उतारना चढ़ाना, उतारना चढ़ाना, उतारना चढ़ाना इतना आसान है, तो भैया भेजो शनि को पाकिस्तान सारे टेररिस्ट को मरवा दो. अरे शनि को उतारना चढ़ाना इतना आसान है, तो भेजो शनि को लद्दाख चाइना से लड़वा दो. मैं आपसे यह बात पूछना चाहता हूं कि शनि परमानेंटली इंडिया में क्यों रहता है? Why doesn't शनि go to Australia? Hello? Why doesn't शनि ever go to New Zealand? यार यही बैठा हुआ परमानेंट। और जो बाबा आता है उसके पांव पकड़ लेते हैं लोग। अरे इसको जेल में होना चाहिए भाई। What are we talking here? बाबा जी क्या करें, बाबा जी क्या करें? एक बाबा कहता है बेटा प्रीत करो, प्रीत करो। एक बाबा प्रीत बेच रहा है, एक बाबा हनी बेच रहा है, एक बाबा हनी प्रीत मिक्स करके बेच रहा है। What a joke. Now why am I sharing this with you? For a very important reason. साहब जिंदगी में उतार चढ़ाव, उतार चढ़ाव, उतार चढ़ाव सबकी जिंदगी में आता है। यस नो, यस नो, ओके, सबकी जिंदगी में आता है। लाइफ ऑलवेज डजंट गो अप अप अप, इट गोज अप एंड डाउन। इट्स अ रोलर कोस्टर। एंड व्हेन देयर इज अ डाउन, people who accept responsibility, they analyze and they ask a question. If a similar situation came again, will I behave the same way? If the answer is yes, means you have not learned anything. They analyze, learn from it, accept responsibility. They don't repeat the same mistake. But people who do not want to accept responsibility, when things go wrong, you know what they say? Not my fault, my stars are not favoring me. And they will never learn anything. They will keep repeating the same mistake again and again and again and again. Now, आपको एक उदाहरण देता हूं। एक आदमी को मैंने देखा, उसने सब 10 उंगलियों में 10 अंगूठियां पहनी हुई थी। मैंने कहा पांव की उंगलियों में भी पहनी हुई क्या? सब लोग पहने हुए, कोई ना कोई शांत करवा रहे हैं सब बैठ के। मैं वही एयरपोर्ट जा रहा था, तो अचानक ड्राइवर ने जोर से ब्रेक लगाई और गाड़ी एकदम झटके से रुक गई। तो मैंने ड्राइवर से पूछा कि भैया क्या हो गया? कहते साहब बिल्ली रास्ता काट गई। आप ध्यान से सुनिएगा लिपि, बिल्ली रास्ता काट गई। तो मैंने कहा भैया अब क्या होगा? बोले आप शगुन होता है, जाएंगे तो कुछ ना कुछ नुकसान हो जाएगा। तो मैंने कहा क्या करोगे? बोले गाड़ी रोक देता हूं। मैंने कहा मेरी फ्लाइट मिस होगी तो बहुत नुकसान हो जाएगा। तो मैंने कहा गाड़ी कब तक रोकोगे? कहता जब तक कोई दूसरी गाड़ी ना निकल जाए। तो मैंने कहा उसका नुकसान हो जाएगा। बोले उसकी प्रॉब्लम। आप ध्यान दीजिएगा, दिस टैक्सी ड्राइवर न्यू एवरी आंसर, उसकी प्रॉब्लम है। तो मैंने उसको एक बात पूछी, भैया एक बात बताओ, मान लीजिए आप 15 अगस्त पहले होते और बिल्ली निकल चुकी होती और आपने बिल्ली को नहीं देखा होता, तो आप ही की गाड़ी पहली होती, फिर इन दैट केस फिर क्या होता आप बताइए मुझे। साहब उसका जवाब सुनने वाला है। कहते हैं साहब इन दैट केस बिल्ली की पावर कम हो जाती है। साहब बिल्ली की पावर कम हो जाती है। हाउ डू यू लाइक? आप हंस रहे हो, पढ़े लिखे पीएचडी एमबीए यही कुछ कर रहे हैं। साहब ऐसा है, एक नोट कर लीजिए, आप लोग गूगल कर सकते हैं, यू कैन सर्च January 2018 issue of India Today। एक आर्टिकल निकला था, एस्ट्रोलॉजी एंड childbirth, astrology and childbirth. He said because of astrology and superstition, natural childbirth has gone down in India, many parts of India, by 80%. 80%. And then they mentioned there South India, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Madras. अब ये आप गूगल कर चेक कर सकते हैं। In Madras, Hyderabad, Bangalore, natural childbirth has gone down by 80% because 80% of childbirth there takes place through C-section, operation. You know why? Some astrologers said This is good time to pull out the kid at this time. How do you like that? So ऐसा है, I'm closing this program, but the bottom line is we need to understand विश्वास ताकत देता है, अंधविश्वास इंसान को कमजोर बनाता है. मैं एक बात यही कह रहा हूं कि मेरे से एक आदमी ने क्वेश्चन पूछा वन ऑफ द प्रीवियस प्रोग्राम्स कि मिस्टर खेरा बताइए आप कि जो लोग मंदिरों में जाते हैं 10-10, 12-12 घंटे वेट करते हैं दर्शन के लिए, 10 hours they wait to get darshan. Is that faith or blind faith? Interesting. तो मेरा उनको जवाब एक ही था कि भैया ऐसा है, every day I pray to God. Now, do I know where is God, who is God, what is God? Well, if I don't know who is God, where is God, what is God, if I can't give answers to these, then am I doing blind faith? Now, then why do I pray to God? I pray because only one reason. This universe, the earth, the planet, the sun, the moon, the flora, the fauna, everything, this is not creation of any human being. This is not creation of any human being. Now, there is so many things unexplained. Now, anything that is unexplained can be either a miracle or a mystery. It can be a miracle or a mystery, I don't know, but it still remains unexplained. Now, it is not the job of any human being. So it has got to be superhuman. Then if there is superhuman, there's got to be a superpower. That superpower is what I call God. Now, but in the last 45 years, I've not gone to any temples, barring 3-4 times, because I feel very strongly that 90% people who go to temples today, they go there more out of fear than out of faith. अरे ये नहीं करोगे ये हो जाएगा, ये नहीं करोगे ये हो जाएगा, ये नहीं करो, डरा डरा के यही कुछ करा रहे हैं. मैं तो एक ही चीज कहता हूं कि all over the world, this is time to give back, because परमात्मा ने हम लोगों को घर दिया है, इज्जत की रोटी दी है. It is time for us to share with other people also. And globally, there is one community who has been honored all over the world by the government of Canada, US, Australia, UK, everywhere. This one community has been honored for the humanitarian service. Guess which community that is? It is the Sikh community of India. They've been honored everywhere in the world. You know why? Their principles are they're caring, sharing, and daring. Caring people, they care. Sharing people, they share. And daring, they have the guts to fight. Because Sikhi stands on 3 principles. One, they say Nam Jap, one Chat Kirat Kar. Nam Jap is, there is only one God which is formless. One God. 2, Nam Jap, one Chat is the concept of langar. You know, langar concept is not new. It's 500 years old from Guru Nanak's time. And millions of people are getting food every day today. And 3, Kirat Kar. You know what Kirat Kar means? This is the message also of Mukesh Bhai. You see, Kirat Kar, have you in life ever seen a Sikh beggar? You will never find a Sikh beggar. This is not ego. You know what? They will not mind washing your clothes. They will clean your bathrooms. They'll clean your shoes, but they won't beg. This is called dignity of labor. No work is small. No work is small. Folks, and in Sikhs you will find one more thing. They have no caste. Every Sikh man's last name is a Singh. Every Sikh woman's last name is a Kaur. There is no caste. I wish in India we had adopted the Sikh philosophy instead of our own constitution, this country would have been a different country totally. With those words, I pay my gratitude to Mukesh Bhai and my tribute to him and everybody right here, all the audience right here. I'm grateful. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Once again, it was indeed an insightful session and such a pleasure. I'm sure the entire team of MAS is highly motivated by you. And you rightly said that whatever you've shared today is not taught in some of the biggest institutions as well. And I have my diary full of notes already. And before I say bye-bye to you, I would request, sir, if he has some questions for you and if he wants to address you.
At the outset, thank you so much for this interesting discourse. And the only question that comes to my mind, while we run an organization where we employ more than 1,700 people, and the most challenging thing always is how to keep them self-motivated. Because there can be a number of sessions of motivating them, they're quite useful. But we always, I'll not call it a problem, but we always face a challenge and we are always concerned as to how to keep them constantly self-motivated.
I didn't see your name, sir. Sir?
I'm Kamlesh Gandhi. I'm the CMD of MAS Financial Services Limited.
Okay. Kamlesh, what motivates you, sir?
My resolutions and my intentions and my dreams of what I want to do.
Okay. पहली बात तो मैं आपसे एक बार ये कहना चाहूंगा कि everybody in this world is motivated, including the lazy person who wants to do nothing is motivated to do nothing, first of all. Everybody is motivated, number one. Now, this is a funny answer, but that is really not the true answer. See, many times people ask me, Mr. Khera, do you also get demotivated? Answer is yes. Kamlesh Bhai, you also get demotivated once in a while. We all get demotivated. Everybody does. And then they say, what do you do? What do you do in that case? Now, इसका एक ही आंसर है. कई बारी मेरे से लोग पूछते हैं कि मिस्टर खेरा आपका प्रोग्राम अटेंड करते हैं लोग. They go through your program or listen to you or read your books. They get motivated for only some time. And then the motivation dies. तो मेरा उनको एक ही जवाब है, the motivation dies after some time. My question to you is, motivation is like fire. Unless you keep adding fuel to it every day, it dies. Now, just the way our bodies need food every day, our minds need positive thoughts every day. See, if you feed your body with junk food, what will happen? You will fall sick. That means body just does not need food, it needs good food. Similarly, our mind just does not need thoughts. It needs positive thoughts, otherwise we become mentally sick. Because all our environment is negative. So what do? To counter that, you need to read positive things. So many times people ask me, what do? I said, I read my books. I read every day 2 to 3 hours every day. I am reading a good book or listening to some motivational message. Now, छोटी सी बात एक ये है. आप देखें, any athlete, when he stops practicing, what happens to his stamina? Stay the same or goes down? Hello? Kamlesh Bhai.
Yeah.
When an athlete stops practicing, what happens to his stamina? Stays the same or goes down?
Obviously goes down.
Oh, right. Obviously goes down. Similarly, motivation for all of us goes down. So the only way is our motivation is like battery. You use it, it finishes, and you have to recharge. You have to recharge again and again and again. Otherwise, आपकी बैटरी भी खत्म हो जाएगी, मेरी भी खत्म हो जाएगी. देखिए, जब आप घर से निकलते हो गाड़ी में, आप अपना गाड़ी का टैंक फुल करा के चलते हो. Do you wait for the tank to get empty before you get refilled? No! You get done before it. You never wait till your tank gets empty. नहीं तो सारी जिंदगी धक्के मारते रहोगे आप. So the answer is you need to get the refill done before it gets empty. Similarly, motivation is like fire. Unless we keep adding fuel, it dies. ये जिन लोगों की आप बात कर रहे हैं ना, देखिए, I have been doing these programs for the past 35 years. Mercedes is a client of mine. Mercedes का एक contract है. Whenever you work for Mercedes, you have to sign a contract. That to maintain your contract with Mercedes, you must go through 7 training days per year per employee. All over the world, 7 training days per year per employee. This is not product training, people training. Not, you see, आप उनको मोटिवेट करना चाहते हैं जिंदगी में, तो भैया ऐसा है, you need to recharge everybody's battery. Because in life we need reminders. जब आप छोटे थे कमलेश भाई, जब बिल्कुल छोटे थे, आप गलतियां करते थे, आपके माँ बाप आपको सुधारते थे, क्या उनकी एक बारी कहने से आप सुधर गए थे क्या? 15 बारी उन्होंने आपको करेक्ट किया था, उसके बाद आप वो करेक्ट करते हैं जब तक आप सुधरे नहीं. Similarly, these people who are working in your company, do you know one thing? They need reminders. A good company like Mercedes and others, they have continuous training ongoing. आपको एक छोटा सा उदाहरण देता हूं. I'm going a little extra time here. हमारा ऑफिस है सिंगापुर में, तो वहां पे मैंने एक टैक्सी ड्राइवर को बिजनेस कार्ड दिया 25 साल पहले एक जगह पहुंचाने के लिए. At the last point he circled around the building. Meter at $11. तो मैंने उसको $11 दिए. He took only 10. तो मैंने कहा, Henry, your meter reads 11. How come you're taking 10? He said, sir, I'm a taxi driver. I'm supposed to be bringing you straight to your destination. Since I didn't know the last spot, I had to circle around. Had I brought you straight here, the meter would have read $10. Why should you be paying for my ignorance? But आगे सुनिए बात क्या कहता है सर. कहता है, sir, legally I can claim 11, but ethically I'm entitled to only 10. How do you? Legally I can claim 11, but ethically I'm entitled to only 10. This man understood the difference between legality and ethics. Many lawyers and judges need to learn from him. Now, he didn't stop here. He said, sir, Singapore tourism is big. People come into our country for only 2-3 days. And if the first experience of a taxi driver is not pleasant, the balance 3 days is not very pleasant either. अब सुनिए सब क्या कहता है. He said, sir, I'm not a taxi driver. I'm an ambassador of Singapore without a diplomatic passport. How do you like that? Now, मैंने उसको पूछा, मैंने कहा, Henry, how come all you people are good, clean, honest, courteous people? You know what his answer was? He said, Mr. Khera, before we get a license to operate a taxi, we have to go through a 2 months customer service training program. Hello, Kamlesh bhai, ध्यान से सुनिए. 1.5 महीने की customer service training program उनको जाती है before they can operate a license for a taxi. These taxi drivers are better trained than executives in our companies here.
Yeah, very true.
2 months customer service training program. And then he said, memories are short. Every year, every taxi driver in Singapore has to go through a refresher program of 1 week. How do you like that? That is how they keep them motivated.
Right.
There is no other way. And the taxi driver that I met 25 years ago, immediately I hired him as my manager in Singapore. And today also, he's still my manager in Singapore. This 8th grader, 8वीं class ka, he is more valuable to me than any MBA.
Correct.
So this is how we keep people motivated.
No, very true. Thank you.
Thank you so much once again. I'm sure not just me, but the entire team also admires the way you are able to explain the complex lessons in the simplest of the way. And thank you so much for being with us today over here, sharing not only your journey of living abroad, but also all the life lessons that you've taught us that the team will be able to, not only implement in the company, but as well as in their personal life. Thank you once again for being with us, sir, today.
मेरे को कमलेश भाई का नंबर भेज दीजिएगा with his permission. Just send me his number and also Mrs. Pandya's number. I'll keep them on my mailing list. Thank you.
Well, with this, we've almost come to the end of the evening. And now I would request Mr. Dhwanil Gandhi, the Business Development Manager at Mass Financial Services Limited, to please deliver a vote of thanks.
Respected all, good evening. On behalf of Gandhi family and Team Mass, I sincerely thank Shri TT Srinivas Raghavanji for gracing this occasion as a guest of honor and sharing his thoughts on the NBFC industry. We are also thankful to Shri Shiv Kheraji for delivering a very enriching talk on comebacks. I also must express my profound thanks to my father, Shri Kamlesh Gandhi, for instituting this brilliant initiative of a memorial committee in fond memory of one of the most outstanding person we all have come across at home, and at home we all used to call as Bhai, Mukesh Bhai. Through his graceful demeanor, he has, I'm sure, left a very lasting impression on every person he has interacted with. I myself have been very lucky to have learned some timeless principles from him on Jainism, life, and business. The loss has been very tough to comprehend for everyone who has known him closely, but now we look forward with a fresh outlook on celebrating his life and learning from it. I also express my sincere thanks to all our business associates and Team Mass for carving out the time for attending these sessions, from various parts of the country. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Everyone for joining. Thank you so much, Dhwanil, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I'm sure the sentiments and the values that late Shri Mukesh Bhai Gandhi has imbibed in the organization will always prevail among our extended family, friends, and business associates. Team Mass is a rock solid in its mission of attaining excellence in its endeavors, which would be the best and ideal tribute to the company's beloved co-founder, late Shri Mukesh Bhai Gandhi. I wish you all very best and strength to cope up with the loss. This is your host, Lipi Goyal, signing off. Have a good night. Thank you.